Oh, hey everybody, how you doing? Um, this is saying I'm supposed to do a video on the numbers today, and I'm like, okay, I guess I can do that, but there's really not much to go off on here. I don't know what I could really add. What do you think, Barry? Yeah, right there, right? It says, video on the numbers. Yeah, all right, fine. I'll do it, I guess. All right, so let's start with number one. I mean, it's simply put the best number. I cannot think of a single number better than number one. Number two comes kind of close, but it just doesn't get that pop, that zeal, that charisma that number one has. Number three, forever, always, in number one and number two's shadow, never really has a chance to shine. But you give him something to work with here, and number three might be able to rock your socks off, but usually he just fails miserably. Number four is a gibbering idiot. Don't even. You get up to number four and just circles. It's hard to get out of a conversation with that guy. Number five, you know what? Pretty hip, number five. Number six, complete scaredy cat, doesn't like to do anything. Number seven is, number seven is into some really dark stuff. Number eight really likes to go out to fancy restaurants on Friday nights, and Saturday nights, and Sunday nights, and Monday nights. Eight is a glutton. And nine is no longer with us, because 7, 8, 9! Did you see that coming? I bet you didn't. Here's a question for you, though. We all know the reason why 6 is afraid of 7 is because 7, 8, 9, but why did 7 eat 9 to begin with? Now, give you a spoiler, it involves the number 0, but 0's not really a number, so I'll let you take to wherever that's gonna go. But no, of course, we're not talking about the numbers today. We're talking about the numbers today with Kaido's crew, the Beast Pirates. So these guys were just introduced a few chapters ago. The Fire Festival was about to get started. Scratchman Apu comes back to Wano, and it was revealed that he was working undercover as part of Kaido's crew the entire time. It was actually because of Apu that Kid and Hawkins got captured to begin with, Killer as well. And then, because the Fire Festival is starting, they're like, oh yeah, the numbers are going to be arriving at Wano to partake in the festivities. Who are the numbers? Well, apparently they are giant onis that just appeared in the countryside of Wano. They're these two little kids that are just like watching them as they're heading toward Onigashima, I guess, and the kids are reacting the way that you would expect them to react. Just like, be quiet, don't look at them, they're gonna devour us if they see us. Now, looking at this panel right here, I counted 8 individual members of the numbers, which actually makes a lot of sense. It might be less than that because, like I said, there's kind of heavy mist obscuring parts of them, but off to the left of this panel, you can clearly see 3. We see, like, the shorter one with the horns, we see the one with the really long neck and the tongue, and we see the one that looks like he's wearing some kind of gas mask. The fourth one is a little bit further back in the mist, but he's very clearly a different number. The fifth one is cropped off of the screen off to the right, but he's clearly a different one. And then there's 3 more that are kind of dotted behind the mist and behind the other members of the numbers. I guess it's possible that there might not be 8. That might be just another part of this one's arms that's like stretching out in the distance. But from what I'm looking at here, there's 8. And that actually makes a lot of sense because the whole basis of Kaido's crew is off of cards and card games and suits and things like that. So, for example, the Calamities represent the face cards. Jack, Queen, King. Kaido, you could just assume, is the ace here. Joker was Doflamingo, who was in league with Kaido, not part of his crew, but worked as the underworld broker for the Beast Pirate crew to distribute the smiles and all that. Then, of course, we have the different members of the Gifters that are taking their names from card games. We have one of the headliners, Diaz Drake, Diaz meaning 10. Now, obviously, X Drake or Diaz Drake had that number beforehand, because that was his name, but still, it fits with the theme rather well, right? So, if that's the case, leaving the remaining numbers, number 1 and the ace is not included because that's just going to be Kaido, I'm going to assume right now. So that means we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you go. 2 through 9. That was it. All right. Like, that's okay. I see what okay. So yeah, it would be numbers 2 through number 9 with 10 being Drake and then 1 being Kaido, or the ace being Kaido. If that really is the case. I mean, I can't really think of any other explanation for why the ace hasn't been revealed yet. Oh, wait, no. The ace died. That's the reason why. No. I mean, there might be, in fact, like, another character that hasn't been introduced yet that's a member of the Beast Pirates. Maybe, like, Kaido's right-hand man, and that's going to turn out to be Ace. cards, and Kaido himself maybe doesn't represent any of the cards. Maybe Kaido just represents, like, the player, the one that's actually, like, dealing the cards, okay? Because he's the one in control of all this, but for right now, I'm just going to assume that. So, what the hell are these guys? All right, well, the first thing that a lot of people went to were the ancient giant race, and in fact, that was the first thing I went to, too, because we saw Oars at Thriller Bark, and we know his lineage still lives on because we have little Oars that appeared during the war at Marineford and everything, so it's like the ancient giants still live in the world. There's probably not very many of them, but they are still clearly around. Now, these guys look a little different from Oars and Oars Jr., okay? So, if we're really going to assume that there was, like, Onis and stuff maybe living on Wano, maybe they might be part of that clan, maybe something, maybe related to the ancient giants, but not exactly a member of the ancient giants. Hey, we know Onimaru is a thing. Onimaru is a kitsune that can transform. So unless that fox ate a devil fruit, which, I mean, I don't really see what kind of devil fruit it could have eaten, because there's already a devil fruit that allows you to copy people's appearances, and Mr. 2 had that, and he's very clearly shown to be alive. So I'm going to assume Onimaru is a legitimate, kitsune, a yokai. So the yokai species and Oni and everything actually exist in Wano, okay? But, barring that, the ancient giant race also had a connection to Wano. Oda implied this in one of the most recent Vivre cards, and in fact he even buffed up Oars' original size. He kind of retconned it, where Oars is, I think, something like 60-something meters now. He used to be like 39 meters, and now it's been revealed that no, Oars Jr. is around 38 meters tall, but Oars, the one that the Straw Hats fought at Thriller Bark, he's like 60-plus meters tall, alright? So, this was a giant that lived 500 years ago, so let's say that Oars was part of an ancient giant clan. Alright, so he had his own lineage, and Oars Jr. is a direct descendant of Oars. He's his grandson. From what we've seen with Oars Jr., he arrived at Marineford, and his ship had a Oars, like, 3 on it, like in Roman numerals. So we can assume that Oars II would have been Oars' son, Oars III is Oars Jr., okay? But there were other ancient giants as well, from other clans, that maybe just rallied underneath Oars. It was spoken about, like, Oars, he ruled over a country of ruffians, which I'm assuming is just basically a country or a pirate crew made up of these ancient giants back in the day, alright? So he was their captain, but there were other ancient giants roaming around. Now, how tall exactly are the numbers? We don't know, because there's, like I said, with the mist and the forest, it's hard to get an exact scale. They're definitely giant size, like that's something that Oda definitely wanted us to be aware of, but if they're taller than Oars Jr., or if they're about the same size and or taller than the original Oars, that's up for debate. We're really going to have to see a comparison to there. We're going to have to see, like, one of these guys standing next to Big Mom, because we know Big Mom's height definitively. So, let's say these guys are the descendants of the ancient giants that were part of Oars' crew. Oars apparently went to this frozen land wearing nothing but a loincloth, ended up freezing to death, and that's how eventually Hogback, and Moria found his body and stuck him in the freezer until Luffy's shadow could resuscitate him, okay? Well, there were probably other members of Oars' crew that were ancient giants that did not get frozen, that were smart enough to pack pants when they went to the Arctic. I'm sure not all of them got wiped out in that expedition, right? So that means their descendants are probably still around, and that's what these guys represent right here. So I like to think, if I was going to say it, I would probably say they're somewhere between 45 and 55 meters tall. I would like to think they're bigger than Oars Jr., but not quite as big as Oars, okay? But they are direct descendants of these giants from back in the day. Or I guess, at the least, you could say they're as tall as Oars Jr., okay? Because I guess that would make sense in the, the generational difference of height there, right? What is the purpose of these guys, right? Well, I like to think of this. You don't really get to see Kaido's crew out in the world all that much. Granted, we don't know everything about their crew. They're a Yonko crew, so they're definitely letting their presence be known and everything. We know that Jack went to Zoe to try to get back Raizo, and he brought, Sheep's Head and Gene Rummy and everybody there. But those were really like special, that was like special circumstances. Like, they needed to get Raizo, and they needed to find him, okay? So that's why they dispatched Jack. We also know that Kaido, at least his crew, clashed with Shanks the day before Marineford, but once again, that's a very, very unique circumstance, okay? But, aside from that, really it's just hearsay. We've heard stories about, like, Jack, like, the whole reason he's called Jack the Drought is because he walks into town, turns into a mammoth, and, like, stomps the fields and the crops flat so nothing can grow there. So obviously, yeah, the Calamities, at least Jack, do go out into the world to spread the terror of the Beast Crew, but I think, for the most part, it's these guys that are doing that foot footwork. It's the numbers' job to stay out into the world and enact the terror that the beast pirates have, the level of power that they have underneath Kaido, right? And that was also explained for how them coming back to Onigashima for this festival, the idea of all the numbers coming together, that seemed like a special occasion. The way that they phrased it seemed like, oh yeah, all of the numbers are coming in for this one. That's sort of like, oh, that doesn't normally happen, right? And even Queen mentioned like, oh man, those guys don't know how to hold their liquor. This is gonna suck. You know, they're gonna get all drunk at this party and they're gonna wreck it. So I'm assuming the numbers don't typically hang out at Onigashima as their home base. Maybe they stop by every now and then to check in, but mostly they're out there in the world, arriving at places, and probably not even maybe doing the typical pirate stuff. They show up at a town and they're just like these huge giants. What are you gonna do about that? Like, if you're just some random town somewhere, like, you're out there tilling your fields and just baking your pies in your oven and whatever, and then all of a sudden it's just like, boom. Meredith, was that an earthquake? Boom. Oh, crap. Number 4's coming to town. Boom, 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 boom. And yes, by the way, I do actually think that all of the numbers are going to just have either their names be code names, just numbers. So there's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. You know, okay, K&D reference. You knew that was coming at some point. I already did that when I did the top 10 One Piece moments. I did the top 5 with the numbers from K&D. But anyway, yeah. So I like to think they're code names, or because Oda really enjoys puns, their names are going to be puns off of their numbers. So, for example, like number 5, you know, go in Japanese is 5. So maybe number 5 will just be called Goku? Goku. That makes sense. Name number 5 Goku. You know, and maybe there's going to be an idea, like there's going to be a running theme with all of them. Like, you know how in, oh, it was those, I forget what their actual name was, but Kami's little mermaid children friends, you know, the ones that are like the mermaid quintuplets that were down there at Fishman Island. He's just like, I'm Ichika, I'm Ninka, I'm Sanka, I'm Yonka too, when it should be Goka. You know, maybe it might have some kind of general naming scheme like that, but I think that's gonna have to go down. Yeah, but I don't even know. Maybe they might not even be doing the typical pirate stuff. Maybe they just show up at an island, and we saw them carrying the Kanombo, we saw them carrying the giant maces, like the same thing that Kaido carries. They just show up at a town and they're just like, boom, boom, boom. Maybe they take the booze because they said that they're all big, heavy drinkers. So maybe they take the booze from the island. They just leave. It's like, I want a drink. Boom. Thanks for the drink. Glug, glug, glug. Boom, boom, and then they leave, okay? And then at that point, it's just like, a number came to this island and they completely wiped it off the map. You know, when you got 8 freaking giants under your employ of this size and this power, you know, like, Kaido doesn't need to send his fleets all over the world to express his power at that point. You know, he doesn't need to. It's just like, oh, you want to know how strong the beast pirates are? Number 7 shows up to your town and eats your mountain and drinks your river. And then just leaves. That's all you need at that point, right? So yeah, that's the deal with them there. Now, in the case here, who are going to fight the numbers? I have a feeling that we're not going to see intense fights with all of them. If there's really just 8, I don't think we're going to see intense battles with all of them. I don't think all of them are going to have devil fruits. I think it's possible maybe 1 or 2 might, you know, or maybe none of them might have them. I think these are definitely the kinds of characters that rely purely on their strength of just size. You know, like, they don't need hockey because they can just step on you. They don't need a devil fruit because they can just step on you. And they don't need to know any sort of, like, martial art like Fishman Karate or Newkama Kempo because, oh, let me think, they're giants and they can step on you, okay? So, I think of one of 2 ways here. Either the numbers are going to be used purely as fodder, which I'm kind of hoping they aren't, but it would be neat if it's like the 9 red scabbards are getting together and they gotta showcase how badass they are, because we know how badass the Straw Hats are. We know how badass the Heart Pirates are. At least we know how strong, you know, Law and Beppo is. Sachi and Penguin, they're gonna have to maybe team up, but we know how they're pretty strong, okay, right? And the Minks are strong too with their Sulong. Inuarashi and Nekomamushi are, of course, really, really strong. So we need to prove how the 9 red scabs are gonna get things done. So picture this. Let's say Nekomamushi hasn't joined them yet, right? So let's just have the 8 scabbards and then the 8 numbers facing down each other, and the numbers are all just like, we're gonna smash them. I imagine they talk kind of like lumbering ogres, like, we're gonna beat them down, aren't we, number 3? Damn straight we are, number 7. Whoosh! And they go, and then each one of the scabbards just jumps into the air. Okiku takes out her sword and just slices. It's like that scene in Bleach, where you had the Visored show up at Fake Karakura Town, and then freaking Fura creates all that Gillian rain, that just like this Gillian mass that just appears and attacks all of them, and we get a whole chapter of just the Visors just slicing apart Gillions. Like, it's not real. I mean, it is a big deal, because Gillions are pretty strong, but it's like, alright, yeah, okay, we need to do something to showcase how awesome they are, right? It would be kind of like that scene. Inurashi jumps up and he just grabs one of their faces, like the one with the gas mask, and just releases just a torrent of electro. The mask just shatters and just drops. Kawamatsu does like a sumo grab and like grabs one and like spins it completely over, like when Nekomamushi grabbed Jack at Zo and just lifted him up by his trunk and like did a somersault and just crashed him down on his back. You know, freaking Kawamatsu does something like that. Man, like who else? Shinobu's gonna be there. She does ninja stuff, maybe just makes the ground mature, and like another one just like sinks into the earth or something. Like, so that's one way I could see them utilizing the numbers. Like, they're really not going to be used in a straight up battle that requires any sort of major thought, or they're not going to use any sort of unique ability. They're really just going to be there to like showcase how strong the scabbards are as a unit. Kinemon uses his fire swords and like slices them into like 15 different pieces, like Lisa did against the Gillions. Stuff like that, okay? The second option is, I think a few of them are going to be used as fodder regardless, because this is a really good fodder setup. You know what I mean? Like a giant that's like 50 meters tall stomping toward you, and then, you know, Zoro takes out Enma and is just shing and just slices one in half just like that. A few of these guys are definitely going to be used as fodder, okay? But we might get to see a few good fights with this. Maybe we might get to see a fight with like Chopper taking on one of these guys, and it's just like a fight that's not like an immediate one-hit KO. It's going to be like, okay, Chopper goes into Monster Point and grapples with one of these guys to really test the levels of strength and stuff, and Chopper's like, I'll show you the strength of my medical research, and he takes 2 Rumble Balls and turns into Giga Monster Point! Okay, in all honesty, I've been seeing those images of like the fat giant Pikachu around on Facebook. I didn't know that was an actual thing. I thought that was just like a meme or something. I didn't think somebody was... This is an actual thing, in case you didn't know. That's going to be in Sword and Shield. We're going to have Giga evolutions now. That's one step above Mega, right? We're going to have Giga Pikachu. Just like, I like donuts! We're going to have Giga Eevee. I like pizza! We're going to have Giga Charizard. Giga Charizard! He's like, I think like over 90 meters tall, or 90 feet tall, right? And then I think there's like a Giga Butterfree and a Giga Meowth, right? So yeah, that's a thing there. But no, it's just like, yeah, we're gonna have some of these guys, they're gonna show up, and, you know, Chopper's gonna go Giga Monster Point and fight against one of them or something. We're gonna see maybe, you know, maybe some characters that we haven't spotlighted in a while. Like, we know Luffy could KO one of these guys in one hit. We know Luffy could jump into the sky, go Gear Forth, and Kong gun one of these things right into the ground. That's not a big deal, right? Zoro and Sanji also could probably take one of these guys down, not a big issue at all, right? But let's see some characters that either we haven't seen anything from in like a serious fight, like Kawamatsu. We see Kawamatsu fight a little bit. He has his Sotsuma, he's got his sumo moves and everything. We haven't really seen, you know, him in a serious brawl yet, so I would like to see Kawamatsu fight in that way, or give it to somebody like, you know, Usopp. Usopp fights against one of these things. That would be a really cool fight, right? Usopp launches a plant in one of these things' mouths, and it just, you know, gurgles out of them or something, like some Kurama fight from Yu Yu Hakusho or some shit, you know? That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for from the numbers, okay? But more importantly than their actual fights, I hope that Oda drops some information on what their species is. Big Mom is currently hanging around, and Big Mom had that whole line with King, like, oh, King, mama, you're one of the 3 species or 3 races that doesn't exist in my tot land. Would you like to join me? Onigashima. So maybe Big Mom will know about what the numbers are, and maybe we'll at least get a name drop from what they are. Maybe a little bit of backstory. You know, Oda's always pressed for time and all this stuff, so I'm not expecting a full backstory here. But, you know, just a few lines of dialogue would all... here's all it would take, honestly. Here's all it would take. Big Mom or Kaido or some other random person just randomly saying, oh, the numbers, yeah, legend has it, their ancestors created this land of Wano, like, hundreds of years ago. That's all it would take to confirm what we already pretty much assumed, right? That's all I would be happy with, right? I mean, more would be great too, but, you know, that's something that I hope we get that much, you know? And maybe it's like, legend has it, their ancestors worked under the great continent puller himself, Oars. Once again, like, okay, that's the connection back to Oars that we needed, you know? Pip, pip, cheerio, we're all set to go, right? So yeah, that's it. What do you guys think about the numbers? Let me know in the comments below where we're going from here. Yeah, tomorrow is the review, and I'm excited for that. Oh, let me show you my new toy I got. I got a new camera this week, okay, which is always really fun because the camera I've been using for the reviews I've had for about 3 years now. It's getting up there, so I figured I should get something else. We're going a little bit more professional this time. We got this. That's right. Better go out and buy yourself a 4K TV, kids, because Tekking's making the jump. I'm actually not going to record in the 4K setting because that requires way more memory and everything. Maybe I will every now and then, but doing like a 1-hour chapter review in 4K, that might be that might be a little bit too intensive there. But yeah, new camera, so I'm excited to bust this thing out on its maiden voyage tomorrow. So yeah, get excited, everybody. Tekking101 signing out. Your contract's up soon, isn't it, Barry? About another month or so. Okay, interesting. Later, everybody.